Hi, my name is Dr. Sean Bradley, and today we're going to talk about meditation. Meditation means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And what we want to do for these practices is to really strip it down to its basic fundamental practices and look at the major principles that are involved in meditation so that we can create our own personal daily practice. The first concept that we're going to talk about is concentration. And the first exercise we're going to do is a concentration meditation or concentration exercise. Concentration is a simple concept we talk about a lot of times in a lot of different scenarios, but it's a challenging one when we actually focus on it, when we actually try to practice our concentration. Just like any skill, whether it's a skill at school, whether it's a martial arts skill, it requires concentration and it requires practice. And meditation is no different. We need to practice to be able to get better at it, but that practice is part of that process of learning and part of that process of developing a meditation practice. So when we talk about concentration, we're really talking about two things. One being focus, where when we concentrate on something, we really need to focus. When we're learning a new technique, when we're learning a new skill or anything, we need to really focus on that. And in doing so, we block out a lot of the other things that are going on. We're constantly bombarded with different things coming in, different sounds, different sights, different desires, different things that we want, different things that we don't like. And when we concentrate, it's when we kind of keep those on the outside and still are able to focus on what we're doing. And part of that requires some discipline. Anybody who practices martial arts knows that you're not going to be able to get very far if you don't develop a sense of discipline to be able to practice daily, to be able to do your techniques consistently and be able to constantly practice. Concentration meditation is no different. So the first exercise we're going to go through seems quite simple on the surface, but there's a catch to it. And the catch is that if we make a mistake, we're going to start over. And the idea behind that is we need to put some skin in the game. We need to really make sure that we're committed to these practices and that if we're trying to concentrate, well, we need to concentrate. So the first exercise is really going to just be counting backwards from 100 down to 1. And I'm going to focus on each individual number. And I'm going to start from 100 and go all the way down to 1. And I want us to think of this as kind of like the water settling. Think of a cup of dirty water. If you shake it up and you have all that sediment just floating around, and if you try to get it to come on, settle down, and you try to calm down, concentrate, focus, it's never going to work. But if you just leave it there and let it settle, all of that stuff is going to settle to the bottom. And that's one of the aspects of this concentration exercise that we're going to do. We're going to let all that stuff that's floating around in our mind, all of those distractions, all of those things that we need to do for the day, things that we want to do, are going to just pause for a moment and they're just going to settle. The other thing we're going to do is as we're focusing on these numbers, we're not focusing on anything else. We're just focusing on these numbers. And so when I go through 100, 99, 98, I'm not thinking about my to-do list. I'm not thinking about a test I may have at school or a paper that I have to write or an email that I need to send. I'm going to just be focusing on those numbers. And if we lose count, we're going to start over. All right, so there is a bit of a focus where I really need to stay focused on these. And first exercise is just going to be 100 down to 1. Now, hand position doesn't really matter. Posture, really just sitting up in a nice relaxed posture. We'll talk about posture in another video at another time. But I want to just sit in a relaxed but upright posture. All right? If I'm too slouched over and I'm too comfortable, I'm more likely to kind of either doze off or lose my focus from that regard. So if I'm sitting up and I'm maintaining a neutral spine in a tall posture, then I'm more likely to stay focused as well. My hand position, sometimes people sit in a hand position where you feel that warmth between your hands to kind of keep our body connected here. Other times we can just rest our hands on our knees, you can rest your hands in a circle. Really, whatever your hands want to do is fine. I want to keep my head and neck in a tall posture as well. So bend my neck down, back, side to side, and find that neutral space. So I'm going to narrow my focus down and let everything else kind of fall away as I just focus on one thing. So we're going to practice this one time. I'm going to lead us through it. I'm going to count backward from 100 to 1. We're doing this on the fly, so if I mess up, well, I'm going to start over. But we're going to go through 100 down to 1 and kind of take a nice exhale. Exhale everything out. And we're going to begin. 100, 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, 94, 93, 92, 91, 90, 89, 88, 87, 86, 85, 84, 83, 82, 81, 80, 79, 78, 77, 76, 75, 74, 73, 72, 71, 70, 69, 68, 67, 66, 65, 64, 63, 62, 61, 60, 59, 58, 57, 56, 55, 54, 53, 52, 51, 50, 49, 48, 47, 46, 45, 44, 43, 42, 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So hopefully that wasn't too challenging, but as we do that, it can be, some days it can be more easy, some days it can be more difficult. It really depends on where you're at that day. For me, one of the biggest challenges I find, if I'm tired and I'm trying to concentrate, it becomes much more difficult. I'll try 4 or 5 times to get through 100, and sometimes I don't get to do it. So this means if we think about it as a basic practice, if we think about it as a simple exercise, and it doesn't take that long. 100 down to 1, if we're counting one breath or one number for every second, it's 100 seconds. So we're less than 2 minutes, we can get through this exercise. But there's some days where it's not going to be that simple. If we have difficulty really focusing on those numbers, we're going to start over. And I encourage you to just set aside some time. Set aside maybe even 5 minutes is more than enough. You say, all right, I'm going to spend 5 minutes meditating. I'm going to count 100 to 1. If I get through it one time, great. Well, let me do it a second time or a third time. You can do 100 down to 1. You can do 200 down to 1, 300 down to 1. Or you can do cycles where you do 100 down to 1 3 times. Makes it a little bit less stressful in case you make a mistake and need to start over. When you do the longer exercises, you really have to concentrate and focus more. Now, when we're concentrating, we're taking all of our energy and we're taking all of our focus and drawing it to a single point. And there's a number of different concentration exercises where, I can focus on a candle. I can focus on my belly button. I can focus on the spot between my forehead. There, you can a spot on the wall. You can focus really on anything. And the idea is that you're concentrating on one thing. And our focus really just, you kind of get those blinders where everything just goes in. And this is part of the process. This is part of the process, and it's one of the hardest parts because we're constantly pulled. Even doing that 100 count, even as I'm counting, I can feel myself thinking about other things, thinking about other aspects that I want to talk about during this video, and I need to pull myself back in. So as we pull ourselves back in, we don't want to maintain that. We don't want to be so focused that we can't do anything else except count. We want to bring our focus in so that it expands our awareness. And it seems counterintuitive at first because when we bring our focus to one point, it seems like, well, we're just focusing on that one thing. But again, this is an exercise. This is a practice. And the best analogy I have is think about climbing up a mountain. And not just a little hike in the woods, but I mean like a hard hike, something where you really have to push it. And as you go, it gets difficult. It gets challenging. It's painful. It's frustrating. You want to stop. You're thinking, gosh, I just want to go down and get something good to eat. And you really just get to that point where I have to get there. I have to focus. And you're going through the trees and you're winding up the trail and it's just one foot in front of the other. And you hit a point where you're just concentrating on moving forward. And you get into that stressful state where you're just one step in front of the other. And you finally get to the top. And when you get to the top, you've reached that point. And once you reach that point, your awareness opens up. And when we concentrate so much that we're not being distracted by everything else, our awareness actually increases. So we're using this as a skill where we're constantly grinding. We're drilling this like any other exercise. And the goal of it is to, once you get that concentration down from a single point, it's much easier to see in all directions. It's much easier to open up your awareness and open up your mind as you're doing this. There's nothing mystical about it. It really is just a simple, basic practice where the more you do it, the easier it becomes. The more you're diligent about it, the more consistent you are with it, the easier it comes. And there's always going to be days where it's not easy. There's always going to be days where I'm trying to go through it and I can't get it. But it's the most important thing is do that practice consistently. If you practice martial arts and you do forms or you do kicks and things like that, there's days where it just feels off. But you still do it and you still grind through it and the next day it's easier. So meditation we surround it with a lot of mysticism where it's this really challenging practice that it's like, gosh, I can't meditate. It's like, well, the only way you can't meditate is if you don't meditate. If you're sitting down and attempting any of these exercises, you're going to be meditating. And that's the major aspect of this, is to help concentrate our mind so that it helps increase our awareness and allows us to do other things. And this will extend beyond just meditation. If you train yourself to be able to concentrate in this sort of setting, well, when you're at work, you're going to be able to concentrate. When you're at school, you're going to be able to concentrate. You're going to have a skill set to allow you to bring your mind and focus on what you're doing. Now, a few more bits about the exercise. Lots of different ways you can do it, lots of different ways you can modify it. I encourage you to stick with one for a while to really give yourself a chance to get good at it. So 100 down to 1. You can do it out loud. Becomes kind of a chanting practice at that point. When you do it out loud and you're creating a sound, you're blocking out other sounds that are coming in. If you do it silently, you're more likely to get distracted by certain sounds. There's different things that are going to, a car driving by, a kid in the other room, or, your parents cooking dinner or something like that could be, hearing those sounds can be distracting. So to count out loud, to kind of chant the numbers almost kind of in a rhythmic sort of just constant 199 like I did, can help block out some of those other distractions. Your eyes can be open or closed. But again, you will flip-flop back and forth between, if your eyes are open, you are more likely to get more distractions. If your eyes are closed and you're tired, you're probably going to just fall asleep. So kind of something in between where your eyes are lightly closed, where you're not seeing everything. Everything's just a little blurry, but you're not just shutting down completely and falling asleep. If you do close your eyes, or even if your eyes are lightly closed, you can visualize. You can visualize those numbers. You can visualize each one as you go through, and that helps to really hone in that concentration, that practice as well. So this was our first exercise. It's a concentration practice, concentration meditation. It seems quite simple, and it really is. As a basic idea, as a basic concept, it is. But in practice and in doing it, it can be very challenging. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and there's still days where I really struggle through it. But it is part of my daily practice. It takes less than 2 minutes. It doesn't disrupt the rest of my day, but I do it first thing in the morning, and I do it last thing in the evening before I go to bed. So that's it for today for our concentration meditation. Again, I'm Dr. Sean Bradley, and thanks a lot for tuning in.